sure it's 529, no, non-drop.
Yeah, yeah. What?
Go ask Victor if you drop or non-drop, just to be sure. Shoots with Steadicam and he's there hanging out the room. He ate first.
Sure. So what I'll do is at 3:30, it's 15 minutes from now, we'll do a slate.
Oh, you guys,
Okay.
what's your
Do you know how lost I feel? The thought of reminiscing.
The formats that we're using was pulse code modulation. It was PCM was what it was called. And you take your analog and you turn it into this other thing. And it wasn't analogous to anything. It was a digital format that needed to be turned into an analogous thing. So it was a storage medium, it became the mixed medium, it did everything that you needed to do. And then we had to figure out how to make it work so that it sounded like the old one.
So the initial, process of, with digital was for storage more so than as a recording process?
No, for us it was for delivery. We were delivering those CDs. Remember, they were making the transition to CD delivery. We were going right from the analogs right to CD. So the first few releases were not great. So we were all learning by the seat of our pants. Okay, here we go. This is a Sony product. We went with the Sony format. The industry went with the Sony format, and it was limited to a 44.1 kilohertz sample rate, which doesn't work out to be any even number anywhere on the planet. So it doesn't. It was hard. It was hard.
So
Harsh.
the new medium that you're making this mastering or reformatting is what? The CD.
CD.
So you're going from what to what?
Going from tape, which was the sources were either tape or disc, and then we had to turn them into these CDs and compact discs. And in doing that, we transferred. I'd say the first 2 years was a total learning process for all of us. They've never been done before, so.
I'm just trying to see the medium. Like, what are you working with here? Like, the
tape. We went from our analog tapes and discs and transferred it over to various digital formats. It was a Sony 1610 was the machine we'd record to. And then we'd assemble everything on the 1610. So literally first song was on this tape, or this third song was on this other tape, and you ended up assembling it. So it was two players and a recorder. So you record literally from this one to this one, and find the other song, and literally you're doing it by the numbers, totally by the numbers. Find it on the tape. So you assemble everything on what you had your work tapes. So you get the source material, make sure it played, make sure it didn't skip, get it so that it played, play it onto your tape, your work tape, assemble the stuff on the work tape as close as what you can so that you had the fidelity that you were looking for, then take that and assemble it to a final tape that actually made the CDs.
We can't hear you. We talking.
Yeah, we're still setting it up. So we need them to play so we can set it up.
They were playing like, when you had that space, I'm like, I didn't want to get in there because I wasn't sure. I'm like, okay.
Jump in.
Hey, Donald, please.
Hang on a second.
Play for the changes there, Donald.
Hold on, we're gonna try to get the.
Did you get
Yes, we got it. Thank you.
Not as clear as I
No,
should.
piano's out. I don't hear it at all. I hear it in the room.
That's
I don't
better
hear
for me.
You don't want to hear it in the set, in the headset?
Which number is the bass on? What number is bass on?
Well,
Two?
you can play whatever you want, but what
Oh,
I
I
have
see.
in there is
There it is.
it's in
Play Curtis,
a
please.
flat tone.
Okay.
Bounced around the city, worked I don't know how many different studios, Electric Lady, A&R, ended up at RCA. But when I got to RCA, they were just transitioning over to digital. So it was, they were talking about how they were gonna make the transition, what the format was gonna be, what the acceptable storage medium was gonna be, how it was gonna work. And again, it was all brand new.
Wow.
So we walked in, literally walk in and like, okay. So the first project I was put on was Heifetz. Yasha Heifetz was the first project I was put on. So I was part of the crew to actually do the assembly. Some of the elders, because I was such a young guy, I came in like really young. The elder guys who knew the process and knew all the analog recordings, they were already familiar with the source material. And it was 3 tracks. It was 2 tracks. They had a thing called a Tinker Toy, which was really just a real tiny reel of tape, that big. Tinker Toys.
So how old are these recordings that you're working with?
Yasha Heifetz's the recording history was all RCA. So we had plates, had records, had stampers, had mothers. So whatever they were recording on at the time, and I have to go back and just see when his process started with them. I don't know, 1900, whenever RCA started. It was his stuff. So these guys, went to the vault. We call it the vault. It was down in the basement at the RCA building. Bring the stuff up and open it up, and hopefully it wasn't dust or butterflies flying out of it. You didn't know what you were.
So you've got the original content.
We got the stampers. I got records. I got stampers, which were the metal plates that actually stamped the records. I got mothers. I got Tinker Toys. I got, stuff would come up. They're like, okay, what are we gonna do with it today? So we had a collection of styluses that I had to use. For a stamper, the record plays backwards and upside down. So instead of doing this, it did this and played backwards. So we had it was a bifurcated stylus to play this record. Bifurcated stylus, and it played it backwards. And it was a metal plate.
Just real easy. You don't know what love is until you've learned the meaning of the blues. Until you've loved a love you had to lose. You don't know what love is. You
until you kissed and had to pay the cost. Until you've flipped your heart, you have lost. You don't know what love is. Do you know how a lost heart feels? The thought of reminiscing how lips that taste of tears lose their taste for kissing you. You don't know how hearts for love that cannot live yet never dies. Until you faced each dawn with sleepless eyes. You don't know what love is.
But they had retired just before I was brought in to sit in the chair. And that happened kind of weird because I was I was working in the shop, doing some stuff, and Peter, Paul, and Mary were in Studio A recording, and one of the guys from RCA was assisting, but he's an elder, so nobody, they're about to retire, they don't care. So they brought me out to work with Peter, Paul, and Mary. I was in there a day, and Mary said, him. Whatever it is he's doing, he needs to stop doing that, and he needs to be here. The only thing I did was I got up out of when they needed something, I listened to the engineer. So the whole idea was that you're in the room. You don't have to have a guy tell the engineer to tell the assistant to go do something. The assistant's right there. So as I'm listening, I go do it. You don't have to tell me to do it. I can hear it, you need it done. They never saw it because of my jingle work. I did the jingle work before I got, years before I got to RCA. The jingle work was like, you didn't walk out there, you ran out there like it was on fire. Because like the clock is ticking, so like that space of time, remember, we're 9 to 6, we got to get it done. And it's got to be delivered. There's no screwing around. So I took sort of had the same attitude when I went to RCA. They never saw that before.
So Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Mary went to the head of the production department and told her friend that was in the head of the production department that he needed to get me whatever I was doing, I needed to go into the studio. And then they had me in there for about a year, assistant, and then they brought the other 2 guys back so they could train me up to become a full engineer. So I went from it was a union shop. So I went from being just an engineer to becoming a master engineer 3 years. Most of the guys did masters, it's a 10-year, 15-year process. I made it in 3. Not totally on my own, through my own volition, but yeah, by the time we finished, it was done.
music is food for the soul, for keeping you whole. We love what we do when we play it for you, and we share it with love that comes down from above, from our heart to your heart. Let it start with one spark you can give away. This is my family band. Please understand, we're keeping it real with some swing you can feel. And if you start feeling the heat and go to tapping your feet, then it's time to meet the family band.
Types of music.
Yeah, once I got out of the shop and they brought me into the room and I got trained up. So I was doing film scores, classical recordings, Broadway shows, and then the jazz guys started coming. So I had worked my way up. So I wasn't proficient in jazz at all because there was, I'd done all this classical and Broadway and stuff. So all that stuff had happened. Then the jazz guys came through. That was when the Roy Hargrove came in with the first one. Euless Cathy came in. You remember all those cats, yeah. So all of that stuff I did. We ended up. What was great was that I got to work with the producers who were Brian Backus was another cat. Yeah. So I was working with these guys who were outside of RCA. They weren't RCA producers. They were, Polygram producers. So it got to be really interesting. I got to work with some really, really nice stuff.
Because that's, some of the names that you're mentioning, they're the core of the industry of their field at that time. So you went from the core of the, each industry from the classical to the film industry. To
the film. And then the film came weird. The film came because they were trying to get into a lot of cats that were working out of A&R. And A&R closed their facility. The room that the cats were using, there's a big room.
The A&R Studios.
A&R Studios had two facilities. There was 799 Broadway, and then there was the one inside the Musicians Union. So the main floor of the Musicians Union was A&R. What is that? 1619? No, I can't remember. The 799 Broadway was, I can't remember who had it originally, but it was this huge space. Huge space. Frank Sinatra's LA Is My Lady was done there. And the bunch of Broadway shows, movies were done. They closed that. A&R lost the building because it was torn down to put up Prudential? I think it was Prudential building went in its place. So 799 7th Avenue went away, and then all of these people needed another place to record, so they came over. The A&R folks, literally, 4 or 5 of the principal people from A&R left A&R and went to RCA. got jobs at RCA to bring all that work in. So we used to call it ANRCA. Look around, did I just leave you? What are you doing here? It was crazy. It
The
was
timing is just amazing that, you're developing these techniques and, all this incredible music, and you're, working from the past to the present.
to the present, and trying to keep a grasp of all of it to bring it all, all of that process forward to this, because this is not that, but it is that.
But it's almost it seems like two things. It almost seems like a renaissance, like a sound renaissance. At the same time, you're working with old stuff. Like, it's interesting,
Yeah, well, that was the weird thing about it. When I got involved, I got involved at RCA just when they were transitioning to take all their old stuff, dust it off, and make it into CDs. So that's when I got exposed to what the hell is a 3-track. Tony Salvatore was the engineer that was doing the classical recordings and the operas. He was doing the opera series for RCA. Tony Salvatore was an engineer that had fallen out, had cats, because they were, these are elders. These cats been around, okay, seen enough stuff. So Tony was sort of relegated to making tape copies when I got there. So they hand me these tapes, and I see this name, it's Tony Salvatore, and it's a 3-track. I put it on, and the needles are going bang, 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 bang. It's like, huh? How do I align that? How do I do this? Who is this guy, Tony Salvatore? And they said, that's him down the hall. Tony's making cassette copies in a corner. Tony's making cassette copies in a corner. So I went to my supervisor, and I said, it's impossible for me to do this. You want me to work on this stuff, but the guy that did it is over there making tape copies. He should be doing this, okay? I should be sitting behind him going, please, sir, may I have another? Because I turned the sound off and his meter's going click, 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 click. 3-track. Vocals in the middle. Opera series. This stuff is recorded. They pack him up every summer with his gear. And we're talking about, a room full of equipment. Pack him up to take him to Milan so he can record the opera series. Year after year after year. Exactly, wow. It's like, I can't do this. I don't know. I don't know what this is. So they went and they talked to Tony. They got it together. Tony was brought back into the studio to actually do the re-releases, because he knew exactly what these were. He knew how to align the tape machine, because he aligned the tape machine. It was his machine. So got him his machines, got him a room, and he came back, Tony Salvatore, and he was instrumental in getting me into the operas. I got the operas from Tony. So I went out to record with Tony one day. We went to the St. Cathedral of St. John the Divine, and we're putting up microphones. And Tony would always go, Jimmy, and he'd look around the room, Jimmy, I don't know. Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, I don't know. And Tony, I think, got 4 Grammys. He's like major Grammy winner. It's like, these cats were amazing. Nothing. If you see them, you'd never know it. You'd never know it.